Does your team want Deshaun Watson? You're going to have to come with a lot of goods in order to receive him. Go Sports presents on the Daily. Well, VIP, I hope your weekend was wonderful. Happy Black History Month. First day of February. Cole Johnson's on the Daily. And I am live and in living color on the Daily. It's on tap presented by Cole Sports. And if you haven't done so already, get on the job. Subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell to get all of the videos coming your way as this show on the Daily, presented by Cole Sports, comes to you every Monday through Friday. So be in the know whether you're in your house, your church, your school, your work, or wherever you congregate amongst people on the Daily, every Monday through Friday on the Cole Sports YouTube channel. Now, this is Monday. Wonderful weekend. We are 6 days away from Super Bowl 55 in Tampa. But we're not going to be talking about that. We're talking about probably the biggest story of the weekend, which was a deal involving the former Rams quarterback Jared Goff and the former Lions quarterback Matt Stafford. Now, I'll talk about the deal a little later. But in reference to this, I want to talk about the fact that that deal may make the impending prayer of a deal of Deshaun Watson to fill in the blank for whatever to the Texans just a wee bit harder. Just a little bit harder. But there's hope because, hey, the Lions got a lion's share back from trading away a quarterback that's in the twilight of his career. There may be another team hungry enough to shed assets and players in exchange for a talent that's not quite in its prime yet, but it's proven to be an elite quarterback already. And so here are the six reasons why the Goff-Stafford trade is going to make a Deshaun Watson deal just a little bit harder to pull off for the Texans. Number one, there are a few teams who need only one quarterback to make them a Super Bowl contender. You know, teams like the Colts, teams like the Saints, teams like the Steelers. If they were looking for a quarterback and if Brady was announcing his retirement after Sunday, which he's not, the Bucs, a team like the Dolphins even, because they want to scratch that itch, because they may not think that Tua Tagovailoa is the guy, or a team like the 49ers. You have those teams who they can plug in Deshaun Watson and they probably feel as though they can run off to the races and be automatically Super Bowl contenders and they can compete with teams like the Packers and the Chiefs. But then there's others who want to scratch that itch too, or has the feeling out of wanting to scratch that itch. You know, teams like the Titans, teams like the Browns, teams like the Titans, teams like the Jets, even teams like the Falcons, who I was talking to a Falcons fan and he said, well, why don't we trade up? Deshaun Watson comes to Atlanta. Matt Ryan goes to Houston. I'm like, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because I'll tell you later in this video what will work. Which takes me to point number two as to why the trade of Deshaun Watson to whomever is going to be harder to pull off. And that is because of the ineptitude of the Texans front office. You have the owner in Cal McNair, who basically is an absentee owner. And you have a high-level executive, in fact, the executive vice president of talent development, Jack Easterby, who basically is a pastor and a former chaplain in NFL who rose to prominence very quickly and very anonymously. And if you need to understand the impact or the negative impact Easterby has, Take the comments that you rarely ever hear from one Andre Johnson. Yes, the same former wide receiver for the Texans, and he played 1 year for the Colts, and I think he played 1 year for the Titans too. He had this to say about Deshaun Watson's fate as it pertains to now in regards to the Texans organization. Quote, "If I'm Watson, I will stand my ground. The Texans organization is known for wasting players' careers. Since Jack used to be has walked into the building, nothing good has happened for the organization. And for some reason, someone can't seem to see what's going on. Pathetic." Close quote. Well, Mr. Johnson, I can tell you what's going on. It is the fact that you have a front office who they really don't care about the players. They have an agenda, and their agenda is to put butts in seats, and they want to make the money. They make the money, the players make the money for them. And, and that's how they look at it. The players as commodities, and they look at themselves as the money earners. I know, Dre, it's backwards, but that's how they think. You would know it a lot better than me because you played for the organization more than a decade, but that is how they think. And it's unfortunate because this young man in Deshaun Watson is seeing how they think. Which, speaking about how they think, it leads me to the number 3 reason as to why it's going to be harder for the Texans to pull off this Deshaun Watson trade. And that is the Texans are gutted talent-wise. Yeah, I mean, when you have a guy who shouldn't even be general manager, as in Bill O'Brien, get the seat, interimly even, and one of the first deals he makes is he deals off Jadeveon Clowney and gets back basically 2 practice squad linebackers. Then he deals a first-round draft pick for Laramie Tunsil. That probably is the best of the worst deals he's done. And then he decides to deal off Deshaun Watson's biggest target, greatest target, number 1 target for the Texans, DeAndre Hopkins. Deals him and a first-round draft pick to the Cardinals for David Johnson and a second-round draft pick. So you have talent that is leaving and not enough quality talent coming back in return, which is leaving the team less talented and less talented and less talented. And you have the Texans who just seem to love the Patriot way, try to operate the same way as the Patriots do, to much, much less diminishing returns. And when you have that happen, you're going to have even worse results happen, like a disgruntled franchise quarterback. So you have Watson who's upset with how management moves, how the upper organization moves. And I will talk about that a little later, but that adds to the fuel of the gutting of the team. Which brings me to the number 4 reason why it's going to be hard for the Texans to deal Deshaun Watson to another team. And that is, if you want Deshaun Watson, you better prepare for your team to be gutted. Whether the present team or the future team, prepare to give up a lot for just this one quarterback. Yeah. And I will tell you how that is cemented home a little later. But the Texans are basically looking for either 3 first-round picks, a second-round draft pick, and 2 players, or 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 2 players. I know when you hear that, you're saying, well, good Lord, Cole, that is unfair. That's a fairy tale. That's a lot. Yes, it is. But the Texans are valid in asking for it. And this weekend is proof. Now I'll go along the reasoning as to why it is proof and why now it is cemented. This is possibly going to happen in terms of if the deal goes through, that's how they're going to get it. I'll talk about that a little later, but whether you are the 49ers or the Jets or the Dolphins or any other team that is out there, and ESPN's Dave Orlowski is imploring the Giants to say, look, I'll put up 3 first rounders, a second rounder, Daniel Jones, and Saquon Barkley. come on, Dan, you know better than that. But it's going to have to take a deal like that in order for them to land a Deshaun Watson. And I don't think it's feasible enough for any team to give up that much for just one player. Reason I actually think this is probably the most important reason as to why a deal to trade Deshaun Watson away from the Texans would be a little harder. And that is, to be blunt, Deshaun Watson's in his feelings. He is. He's in his feelings. And the organization itself, they don't have any interest in trading for him or trading him away. And the reason why I say he's in his feelings is, okay, so the organization lied to you. And I will be blunt. They lied to you, Deshaun. They lied to you, sir. They said that you would be involved in the decision-making of the coaches they bring or the front office people they bring. You know, you had a GM position to fill, and I think you gave them two names, one of them being Louis Riddick, and they decided to hire a former Patriot, Nick Caserio. Then in terms of head coaching, they say, sure, we want your input. And you give them Eric Bieniemy and probably even Robert Saleh, who now is the head coach of the Jets. And they bring forth David Culley, which again proves to how inept the Texas front office is. Credited coach, but you get the feeling this was done on the cheap, which is an insult to someone like Watson and probably someone like a J.J. Watt even. Which brings me to the final reason as to why this deal from Deshaun Watson to any team in turn and in exchange for any talent for the Texans, it's going to be hard to pull off. What the Lions got back for for Matthew Stafford. You see, the Lions got back 2 first-round draft picks, a second-round draft pick, and Jared Goff. They only traded Matthew Stafford. So I know many of you are saying, well, wait a minute, Stafford he's on the north side of 30. He is nowhere near the elite level quarterback that Deshaun Watson is. And you mean to tell me the Lions were able to get that in return? Yes. And if the Lions are able to get that in return for a quarterback that, let's face it, people think he's middle of the road, middle of the pack, imagine what the price would be for an elite quarterback, and not just an elite quarterback who is not in his prime yet. And that is your stumbling block. So here are the 6 reasons as to why this deal for Deshaun Watson is going to be hard to pull off for the Texans. Number 1, only a few teams need that quarterback to make themselves a Super Bowl contender. Number 2, the Texans front office is hot trash. Number 3, the talent is gutted on the Texans. Number 4, a team is going to get gutted if they trade for Deshaun. Number 5, it's a little emotional, both on the organizational and the player side. And number 6, the Lions got a king's ransom for Matthew Stafford. Well, I hope that helps a lot. But it's going to be an interesting saga, and it's going to continue for probably weeks and maybe even months to come. Oh, and I forgot to show you that was the list. Now, if you want this shirt you see right before your very eyes, the description box below has all the details as to how to get it and how to style for it. Now, what team do you think Deshaun Watson is going to be on? I want to hear what you have to say about that. Like this video and share it throughout your social media. Comment below because I want to hear what you have to say, VIP. Your comments mean the world to me. Don't forget, hit the notification bell and subscribe to this channel for all new content that emanates from here. From all of us at Cole Sports, I'm Cole Johnson, and this has been yet another installment of Cole Sports on the visual and on the daily.